I must seize this opportunity to send through you to the American people and to the American President and to the Congress my deepest gratitude for the help they are giving us and for the very warm welcome that was accorded to us during my visit in the States this year. This treaty has a history because before Nasser died, 2 years before that, I visited the Soviet Union more than 2 times, and I have asked them in the name of Nasser and my name to make a treaty with us. And the reason was we felt that they are always suspicious. Suspicion is a second nature for the Russians.
Radio and television commentator Garner Ted Armstrong conducts an exclusive interview with Anwar el-Sadat. Under discussion, the Russian pullout, Egypt's economic future, and the prospects for peace in the Middle East.
We're visiting with President Anwar Sadat of Egypt. I'd like to ask a little more of a personal question, if you don't mind talking about it. I understand you lost a brother in the 1973 war. As a person who has actually lost a close member of your own family, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm very proud, be sure. I'm very proud, and my family also is very proud with me because I lost he was my youngest brother, and according to our traditions, my father left them completely for me to educate them. And he was supposed to be my son, just like my son. He was not only the youngest brother, but he was my son, really. But I lost him in the first 5 minutes of the war. He was one of the first who died in the war. The first 5 casualties I have, one of them is my brother, my son. But I'm very proud. You know, I must tell you something. Egypt has a historical responsibility here in this area. Due to its size, heritage of 7,000 years of civilization here, 1/3 Egypt is about to be 1/3 of the whole Arab world. We have been in contact with Europe since the 19th century, and we have a technical base here. For lots of reasons, Egypt has its responsibilities in the Arab world, and it is the key to the area here. Well, according to these responsibilities, we have done our best to keep the Arab cause in the right channel, and we are doing this up till this moment. Among the Arab world, I must tell you this, I have just returned from a trip visiting 6 Arab nations, starting with Saudi Arabia and ending by Kuwait. Maybe you don't know, during the October 73 war, we had Kuwaiti soldiers here on the bank of the canal, and they suffered casualties, some casualties. But the most important thing I asked them in my last tour, it was just a week before, I have discussed with them our economic position. It is a difficult one. When I say it is a difficult one, I mean that it is not a desperate position at all, but it is a very difficult one. And I must tell you this quite frankly, when we work together in the Arab world as one family, it is a tradition that we can do whatever we can. And in the 73 war, I have done my best 2 years before the 73 war to bring our Arab brothers in one family according to our tradition. But through the family dialogue, we can reach anything. And that's what has happened in my last trip. The 6 nations that I have visited, they have agreed to raise a fund to help the economy of Egypt. And in this respect, I must seize this opportunity to send through you to the American people and to the American President and to the Congress my deepest gratitude for the help they are giving us, and for the very warm welcome that was accorded to us during my visit in the States this year. The United States is helping. My Arab colleagues are helping. Yesterday I called David Rockefeller. He was on his way to the state. I called him and we had a very fruitful discussion here with me and the Vice President, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I must tell you this, everyone is helping. Our brother, the Shah of Iran, also is helping tremendously. So from every way we find a very good spirit to help us. This, in the Arab world, translates the brotherly relations and the family conception that we have. Before the 73 war, we didn't have this conception. We were attacking each other in the Arab world, like the Syrians are trying to do now, but all their efforts will be in vain, because the Arab world has been reborn after the 73 war, and history never goes back again.
In a moment, a first-hand explanation of the Russian pullout. For your free sample copy of the monthly Plain Truth magazine, call toll-free 800-423-4444. That's 800-423-4444.
Now, you yourself, as having been a political prisoner under King Farouk, I'm told that one of the first acts you did, among many others, was to release political prisoners, among them Mustafa Amin, who is a journalist. He speaks very highly of you. Didn't that present to you some difficulties, being the vice president and having the feelings that you must have had about political prisoners under Nasser? Did this cause any difficulties for you?
Well, it has caused, but because me and Nasser, in the first place, we were friends, and this friendship has never changed, in spite of the fact that we started a revolution together, and then he became a president, and I became a speaker at one time, and then vice president. We have always known each other as friends. So in the open, I have no quarrel with him. We discuss freely and criticize, and sometimes we raise our voices together. But because we are friends, and I know Nasser is very sensitive, and I had confidence in him. But still, he has got his own ideas. He thought, or this was his nature, that if he centralized the power in his hand, he can evade, I mean, the delay of fulfilling our aims or so. And this was the start of the way he has already adopted after he was elected president in '56.
You are the president of the only nation on the face of the earth that I think I know of that has ever had thousands of Russian technicians, heavy Russian involvement, Russian military supplies, with all that that entails to the Western mind, especially in the United States. And yet, you asked all these Russians to leave. There must have been some difficulties behind the scenes. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, there has been great difficulties. In the first place, they didn't know that Nasser, before he died, he has given me the full details of everything. The relations with the Soviet Union, Nasser and me only dealt with them during 10 years before he died. And I know every detail. So after Nasser died, they promised him some certain arms and so. And after he died, I asked them, why didn't you send this? It appears that they thought that Nasser didn't tell me about it. So I told them the full details. And it was in my first secret visit to the Soviet Union as a president. This was on the 1st and 2nd of March, '71. We had a very hot discussion there. And I had my delegation. My delegation attended the whole discussion. It was a very hot discussion. In spite of that, they didn't send anything. This treaty has a history because before Nasser died, 2 years before that, I visited the Soviet Union more than 2 times, and I have asked them in the name of Nasser and my name to make a treaty with us. And the reason was we felt that they are always suspicious. Suspicion is a second nature for the Russians. This is as a fact. But we felt that they are very suspicious. Well, I asked them 2 years before Nasser died in the name of Nasser and my name. The year Nasser died, he visited the Soviet Union 2 times. The first one, as I told you, in January '70. The second one in June '70. Nasser went to the extent when he asked them for a treaty to eliminate their suspicion, and they refused. He told them very well, if you are still suspicious, I'm ready for an alliance, and I'm ready to sign it here on the Kremlin table there. They refused also. So it was something very peculiar. They refused during Nasser's time for me and for Nasser, and then suddenly they come in May and ask for a treaty. I tried to tell them the time is not in their benefit to do this. I myself, I have no objection at all. I want to eliminate their suspicion completely, because no one is helping me at that time or sending me arms except the Soviet Union. So they insisted. And they told me about this propaganda of the West and their friends, and so I said very well, and we made the treaty on May '71. After that, I visited the Soviet Union in October '71, and then in February '72 and May and April '72, just 20 days before Mr. Nixon visited there for the first time, exercising the détente. He visited there in May. I was at the end of April there on the demand of the Soviet leaders. So in a year, I visited the Soviet Union 4 times as a president. 1 a secret visit and 3 declared visits. In those meetings, we had hot discussions, and we differed. because they didn't provide us with the material that even that they have promised Nasser before he died. And after that, to me, they didn't provide us. And suddenly, the communique in Moscow that was issued between President Nixon and Mr. Brezhnev after his first visit of the détente said the military relaxation in the area. At that time, Israel was more than 10 steps forward, and they are having the best arms, the most sophisticated arms also. I didn't have it at all. Well, if the Soviet Union agrees in the communique to say military relaxation, this will mean that our land will not be liberated because we are far behind Israel, and they are not giving us even the arms to be 2 or 3 steps behind Israel. I told them, in spite of the fact I'm the one that his land is occupied, I should ask more than Israel, but I'm asking only to be a step or 2 behind Israel. Even this they didn't agree to. For that I issued my decision to send the Russian experts out of the country in a week. And it was fulfilled.
They had 1 week to pack up and leave.
That's right.
In a moment, a look at the future goals of Egypt and prospects for peace in the Middle East. Along the banks and in the delta of the Nile River lives an ancient race. Since the dawn of civilization, the Egyptian people have played an important role in world history. In their ongoing struggle to conquer the age-old problems of hunger, disease, and poverty, the 38 million people of Egypt are inspired by the example of their active president and first lady. In a global effort to help you understand critical developments around the world, the Plain Truth magazine brings you exclusive interviews, first-hand reports, and in-depth analysis of the people and events which will shape the future of your world. Be sure to request your free sample copy of Plain Truth today. Call 800-423-4444 toll-free. That's 800-423-4444. Around the World, Plain Truth, a magazine of understanding.
What are your goals? How do you see your own personal contribution to Egypt as a nation and to the world?
Perhaps you don't know that I am now in the 6th year of my first term, and my term is to end next October, few months from now. I have lots of work to do before this time expires. First, I have started the institution system in the country. Now, we have the cabinet as the executive power. We have our parliament as the legislative power. I am starting a complete new experiment. The press itself, it will be also one of the institutions of the country. In a few days from now, I shall be receiving the report of the discussions that has started since a very long time about the future of the political system in our country. The Socialist Union will readjust itself according to the report I shall be receiving, and we shall have opposition, and we shall have a true democratic system built on institutions. I promise I shall fulfill this before the next few months to the end of my period. the most important, the other most important thing for me is I have already started what you call a social insurance for every citizen that lives on this land, either in the desert or in the delta or anywhere. And it has, the plan has worked, and I promise also that I shall fulfill this promise to my people before my first period expires. Then the most important thing is that our revolution of 52, I'm going this year for the first time in the history of revolutions to deliver to the representatives of the people and the people of Egypt. I am going to deliver them everything, because the 52 revolution that I was one of those who started it 24 years before has, fulfilled its principles and is delivering the full responsibility to the people.
You have reopened the Suez Canal with a combination of American, Soviet Union, I believe West German, French rather, help, and this is now beginning to help the Egyptian economy. In what significant way, or to what degree has the reopening of the canal helped your economy?
Well, it is a very important thing. For me, in the first place, it has meant something, I mean, very personal to me, because I felt injured because I like the 3 cities on the canal zone there. The first thing I started after the first disengagement agreement, I started returning the refugees from the 3 cities. They were ghost cities, like the ghost cities you have in the West in the old time. The opening of the Suez Canal has reactivated the whole thing. I have given a political decision to return the refugees in no time. It caused great trouble to the Minister of Reconstruction and all the other ministers, but I said, okay, it is a political question for me. And you can't imagine how happy when I go there and feel the emotions of the people returned after 7 years and after losing even hope to return to their cities.
In what significant ways do you see that this situation is being turned around, so far as development of the infrastructure of the city of Cairo, of the industrial base, building of new cities, relocation of some of the people in overcrowded conditions? What progress is being made?
Starting from 62, we had very ambitious plans that we couldn't fulfill. This has made, has ended by great troubles in my economy. And starting from 65, I can say that there has been an iron curtain that we have already built around ourselves. We didn't get in touch with the Western know-how, with the development, new developments. The Soviet Union only was the only source that was helping us at that time. And then came the war, and we bleeded. As you said exactly, we bleeded to the extent that in 73, a few days before the war, when I called the Security Council, here I told them our economy is below zero. This means that we shall not be having the loaf of bread for our people in 74. This was the real situation. After that, our Arab colleagues came to our help after the war started, and since Dr. Kissinger visited me here the first time in November 73, we started our relations, stable and concrete relations with you. And then after the visit of Mr. Nixon here in '74 and my meeting with President Ford in Salzburg last year and my visit to the States, thanks to you, I can say this, that you have given us great help really in our difficulties, in our economic difficulties, but still they are tremendous. For that I made my tour that I told you about, and they shall be visiting Germany at the end of this month also. I have the best relations with France through my friend President Giscard d'Estaing. We have the best relations also with Japan now, and everything has started revolving again. And it is true that even the infrastructure of the country here is very severely damaged, but we shouldn't lose hope. And I have always said I'm always optimistic.
What do you think the chances are for a permanent peace in the Middle East now that the interim accord has been signed? Do you believe there is a chance for Israeli leadership to sit down with the Arabs and especially with the PLO?
I have agreed with President Ford when we met in Salzburg about all this strategy, and after that we fulfilled the second stage, and this is the second disengagement agreement, and it was fulfilled this month. And I'm really at ease because everything has gone very smooth. I must tell you this. I think it is the first time since 27 years when this Arab-Israeli conflict started. It is a turning point, and it is the first time that there is a possibility of real peace in the area. Because of 27 years of state of belligerency, of bloodshed, of violence, of hatred, and so, we needed one in whom we can put our confidence. For that, when I met Dr. Kissinger last November '73, I found that he is the really qualified one, because I can have confidence in him, and the Israelis should have confidence in him, because America provides everything for Israel. We have to continue, and let us hope. I'm optimistic. Again, I am optimistic.
Well, I'm sure that the American people and the Canadian people are going to also be optimistic in hearing that the Egyptian president himself is optimistic about peace in the Middle East. It's what the whole world wants. It's what we all need. President Sadat, thank you ever so much for the interview. We've appreciated it. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you very much.
For the free literature offered on this program, write Garner Ted Armstrong, Pasadena, California, 91123. In Canada, Box 44, Vancouver, BC. Or in the continental United States, you may call this toll-free number, 800-423-4444. That's 800-423-4444. In California, dial direct 213-577-5225. All literature is free upon request.
Mr. President, when we spoke last, you described the situation in the Middle East as explosive and very dangerous. I wonder, as a result of your talks with President Ford, whether you feel the situation is still as explosive as it was a month ago.
Well, really, I must tell you this. I feel after I ended my discussions with President Ford just 2 hours before, I think I feel at ease, and I feel hopeful also. This personal contact is very important, and as I told you before, when I know that most of the cards, if it is not all the cards, are in the hands of the United States, and I meet with President Ford and we discuss the situation from every angle, one feels at ease. The most remarkable thing that I must say, that I consider that, as I said before, that the big achievement is that I have known this man, President Ford. I said before, he is an honest and straightforward man. Now I can add that he is a peace pioneer, really, and he is true.
Mr. President, do you think we are any closer to peace in the Middle East today than we were 2 days ago, before you met with President Ford?
Well, this will depend upon the other side. We have discussed, President Ford and me, all the possibilities to push the peace process after it has stopped because of the collapse of the mission of Dr. Kissinger late March. As I said, it depends on the other part. And there is an encouraging element that happened when we were entering the dining room today to lunch at the residence of President Ford. We received the news that Rabin has declared about the thinning of his forces on the western bank of the canal, and of withdrawing certain types of artillery and ground-to-air missiles. The question remains, is Israel going to continue in this test of peace? I mean, is Israel, I said before, Israel fears peace and is not ready to work out peace, while I have shown to the whole world by opening the Suez Canal and extending the mandate of the United Nations forces and even delivering the corpses of the dead Israeli soldiers to them, that I am ready for peace. I don't fear peace, and I am ready to work out peace. The significance of what Rabin has declared today is very important to me, in spite of the fact that Rabin said that the opening of the Suez Canal has little significance. No, I say what Rabin has done today, declared today, has great significance to me. It means that Israel started to reciprocate, and it means that peace, which we are after, all of us, and President Ford, as I have seen, has proved to me that he is with us in this. Peace and the process of peace will be starting to have momentum again after it stopped.
You think the momentum has restarted?
I think by the act of Israel today, the momentum has started, but it depends. Is Israel capable to continue or not? I'm ready to continue. And I think President Ford knows this by now. He knows that I'm ready to continue the peace process. But it depends on the other side. Are they ready to continue or not?
How are you ready to continue, sir?
As I say, that I came here open-hearted and open-minded. And then when I met President Ford, really, and had the first session of discussions with him, and then the second session, and we ended, I came to the conclusion that I'm hopeful. I want you to mark always that I have always said, and I shall always say, that most of the cards, if not all the cards, are in this game are in the hands of the United States. After I have seen and discussed with President Ford, I am at ease, as I told you, and I am hopeful. What Israel has done today, I don't want to minimize it like Rabin minimized my action in opening the Suez Canal. It is of important significance because the peace process is reciprocal. No one party only can make peace. All the parties concerned can make together peace. For that, I think the peace process has started already again, in spite of the fact that the United States has not yet completed its reassessment, as I have learned from President Ford, and in spite of the fact also that President Ford needs more consultations with other parts, as he said in his conference.
Mr. President,